Hey everybody, I'm Madalyn Sklar, host of the Social ROI Chat. We had a great one today, and I'm here with our special guest, Christoph Trappe. Christoph, oh my gosh, you were amazing today. What great insights you shared with us. How are you doing?
Doing great. And as we talked about, it's all about the ego. So you're right on the right track on that one. Thanks for saying that. I don't know how many notifications, like a few hundred, lots of people having a conversation and talking about telling better stories. So it's always fantastic.
Yeah, we had a great community with us today. Great discussion, very lively. Before we dive in, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So Christoph Trappe on at CTrapp on Twitter, my first initial last name. You can also search for my name. Currently director of content engagement at Staymates Business Media. We publish three B2B magazines, and we're working on the business evolution, right? How do we do digital and how do we do all the different channels? Then my background is really in storytelling. The Authentic Storyteller, wrote a book on that topic, blog nonstop, tweet nonstop. Some people complain, some people like it. The ones that should be my audience usually love it. So that's kind of my background, originally in journalism.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. And you and I have known each other for quite a while now through social media, especially on Twitter. And we got the opportunity to meet in Las Vegas at Adobe Connect earlier this year. That was so much fun. So today our topic was the art of authentic storytelling on social media. You are so perfect for this conversation today. I'm going to just go through some of the questions we had on the chat and just get your expanded conversational aspect to it. It used to be like going beyond the 140 characters. Now I have to say 280 characters now that we've got the expanded. Although it was really awesome that you kept it, your answers very short, very, very to the point, which was great. So let's start with the basics. What is authentic storytelling?
Yeah. So first of all, as you probably heard, a lot of people are trying to do storytelling, right? Tell better story, or not even better stories, but tell stories to get audience attention. But authentic storytelling is something happens, you document it, you write it down, you empower your staff to actually share stories, and then you share those stories on actual published channels. And sometimes people say to me, "Oh, we collect stories all the time," and then what do you do with them? And they don't do anything with them. They share it with the C-suite, or if you're lucky, and then they determine they don't want to go through approval hell because they don't have a good system in place to get them out the door, and don't share them. So that's really as basic as it gets. It sounds so simple in my head, but it's fairly difficult for a lot of organizations because they don't want to share negative stories. They don't want to share anything that's not doesn't have the marketing gobbledygook, marketing crap. And you probably know CRAP is actually an acronym. Did you know this? This is a approved communication social media acronym. It stands for content really annoying to people. So obviously we don't want to publish content like that. But that's what happens when we have marketing content, right? That's too polished, for lack of a better term here.
Right. Dorothy's here with us. She says define authentic.
Yeah, so that means it's actually something that has happened. It's true. Also, our intent is pure, which is really interesting, especially in the marketing world, because my joke is there's the official reason why we do something in marketing, and then there's the real reason, right? So, for example, I'll give you like, why do we want people to come to our website? There's a number of reasons why people keep pushing links. Number one, because that's how they get measured, right? Are they getting traffic? Number two, now they got some cookies on your computer to retarget to you to sell you something later, and nobody ever talks about that reason for one reason or another. So there's always those things, but you do want to be the intent needs to be pure. You need to be honest about it. And if you misstep, I actually, when I was at Scribble Live, a SaaS company in Toronto, it's still on their blog, I wrote a blog post about the fine line of digital trickery and digital, being good at digital. And so sometimes we trip over into being too trickery, right? But as long as we didn't mean to, and we admit it when we catch it, totally
Right.
fine. Stuff happens. But the problem is when people don't admit it, and then they just keep going like that was the plan all along.
Well, you know, today we've got like what we're doing right now, live streaming video. You can't get more authentic than this, right? You can't hide behind this. You can't pretend to be somebody else. You know, it's just me being me, you being you. Do you like live streaming? Do you think this is going to be the direction that everything is headed for?
Well, first of all, I don't think anything it's always all or nothing, right? I mean, it always ends up somewhere in the middle. So I think live streaming, I've done it quite a few times myself. I think there is a place for it. I think the biggest challenge live streaming will have out in the digital world is there's still a lot of people who skim and they consume snackable content, right? And live streaming, as authentic as it is, sometimes it's not very snackable, because for us to make this live stream snackable, right, somebody actually has to write it up, use the transcript, make it like add some subheadlines and all those different things. But then, of course, as you can see, people are actually watching, people are asking questions. So there is an audience that does it, but it actually comes back to create once, publish everywhere, right? So do a live stream when it makes sense. Do a blog post out of it when it makes sense. And the example I gave the other day, somebody was doing a webinar, and what do you do with a webinar? You know, could we have done a live stream at the same time? Then, of course, some people say, well, then we don't get the email addresses. Well, but you also get people you didn't get before. Then write a blog post, write a white paper, write who knows what else, but never stop creating once and publishing everywhere. So it fits in there for sure.
Great advice on that. Is there a formula for crafting compelling and meaningful stories?
Well, it always depends on your audience, of course, right? Sometimes I look at a successful website and I'm like, what a bunch of crap. But I'm not their audience, and they still are successful, right? So it always depends on that.
Right.
Of course, who are you trying to reach? But really, your stories need to have some kind of conflict. They need to be authentic. They need to be kind of interesting. And then there needs to be some kind of resolution. So somebody actually once challenged me on that, and they said, so every story, you need to have somebody riding off into the sunset. That is not what resolution is. What that means is that we have something we can share that people can learn from, right? So is there like, here's a solution to this problem. And really, if you think about it, most people rank high on Google and whatever other search engines some people may use when they solve somebody's problem, right? And that's really the setup that gets you towards what's the problem you solved, and now you're sharing a good story about it.
Yeah. I just want to do a quick shout out to the people that are here live with us. It's nice seeing a great group of people here. Jim's here. He just posted a nice comment. Live streaming is just one form of storytelling. Well-produced videos might be better for storytelling. What's your take on that? The well-produced videos?
Well, all depends what Jim, what you mean by that exactly. But there is I don't have it right here, but there is like a diagram I've used before on how well produced content needs to be, right? And sometimes it doesn't need to be well produced at all. So really, what it comes down to is what kind of story is it? So if it's something really unusual, really interesting, it doesn't need to be produced very well at all, right? Because we'll watch it no matter how shaky the video is. But then some other stories, they need to be more well produced. So it's a case by case. The one thing I would say is if you're going to shoot video and it's planned, use a good microphone. I mean, it's really amazing how many, I mean, hopefully I sound okay, but these usually work pretty well. You sound great as always, but have a good mic. I mean, they're not even that expensive anymore. And then the next thing is, if you're not moving around too much, use good lighting. And even, I mean, you can buy lights for like $50 or something. I mean, it's really not that expensive anymore. Now you can buy a stabilizer for your phone. I don't remember the exact price, but I saw one the other day, and it wasn't that expensive either. So use some of those tools to make sure it looks better, it sounds better. But the audio, I mean, the audio doesn't sound good, people will just tune out. And then the other stuff and then the other thing is hold your phone, whatever that is, horizontal, not vertical, right? That's when you shoot with your phone.
Yeah,
you want to
go in this direction. You know, we're so used to doing this, yes. But when you go like this, like on Facebook, if you start with this on your live stream, it'll come out square, which looks a lot better. It's hard to remember though. I forget all the time. I will, you know, think about it, and then you're going live, and it's like, and you can't turn it midway through. It won't do it. So, unfortunately, hey, everybody that's watching live, even those who are watching the replay, do me a favor, hit the share button right below us, right below the video right here. You'll see where it says share. And if you take a moment to do that, this really helps spread this video. Christoph is sharing such great insights today. Would love for other people to see this. So if you don't mind hitting the share button, share it out to your Facebook timeline. I would be very grateful to you. Christoph, question number 4, I really like this one, was storytelling on social media often involves posting consecutively. How do marketers ensure that their content remains ordered and easily digestible?
Yeah, so first of all, people never unfollow anyone when they post relevant content, you know, and so it's something to think about. It has nothing to do with the quantity, it has something to do with the quality. So as long as you keep talking and it's relevant, so for example, I mean, let's just look at the Twitter chat. So I don't know if you have the numbers there in front of you, but I tweeted like every few seconds. And I did not, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. It only gives me the first 3 numbers here, but I didn't lose any Twitter followers. In fact, I may have gained some, you know? So the bottom line is, has nothing to do with how often you tweet. It has something to do with, do people actually care? Yeah, it looked like I gained a few. So anyway, so do that. If it's not live, think about the best practices of how often to post. For example, Facebook. You know, I used to say you could post things a lot more often. Now I recommend a lot fewer posts, but now you have to spend some money because otherwise they don't even show it to people unless you have a huge audience. Like I was looking at Bavaria Munich, a soccer team in Germany, 46 million followers. And guess what? You have 46 million followers. You can post things and enough people will still see it, right?
Sure.
But for the normal social media users out there like us who don't have 46 million followers, we have to put some money behind it. So think about that. What's the current best practice? You know, use the right tools to do it, and then share valuable content. As long as it's valuable and not salesy nonstop, it's not a big deal. Nobody will negatively care.
I agree with you 100%. I saw when you had posted that during the chat, I'm like, right on. That is like so perfect. And yeah, through today's chat, I'm sure you definitely gained a lot of new followers because we have a great community of people. I know they were loving your tweets. Another question I wanted to ask you about was, what role does the human ego play in authentic storytelling?
Yeah, so it's always, I was joking, of course, during the chat, but it's always about us, right? And it is. Yeah. And even the people who claim it's not, it is. So people do want to see their own stories, even, you know, especially the positive ones. That's why people clip out articles in the newspaper when they're positive about them. So make sure you share those stories. That's a great way to actually do that. And then allow people to share it without being pushy about it, but they will anyways. So as long as they have some kind of buy-in and influence, they certainly will be happy. And that's why, and you've been part of those, I've been part of those, that's why people do those influencer roundups, right? It's all about the ego. And then, of course, we say, oh, look, I'm listed next to whoever. And now everybody shares it. And, of course, that drives some traffic to that site, whoever that might be. Andy Crestodina pushed this whole topic a little beyond my comfort level when he was speaking at Content Marketing World a couple of years ago. And he says, you know, I quote people, I reach out to people basically because of the importance of the ego. And then I quote them. And then, of course, everybody shares it because now look, I'm quoted, and look, I'm in this
Right.
article. So there's certainly there's some truth to that, and use it for the good, I guess. I mean, use it in the right way.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to that. I mean, when done in a good way, good things happen. Uh, the last question on the chat, I really like this one a lot, is what tips and tricks do you have from promoting storytelling online?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, number one, always keep an eye on what actually works and what doesn't work, and
Yeah.
hop on the wave the second you can. It changes nonstop, and even today. Maybe a bad example, because some people say it was spammy, but a lot of people did it. So Twitter, for example, right? How did all these people gain these huge followings? They automatically followed people, right? And then they unfollowed people automatically when that was still possible. Then they stopped
Right.
doing that. And then people did it by hand. And now you can't even do that by hand anymore very easily. So, so when people say to me, how did people grow their Twitter followings? Well, that's how a lot of people did it. But you actually, just because you can't do it today, because that's not possible anymore. So I joke, just because you hear somebody talk at like a social media conference and they talk about those things, doesn't mean you can do it, because it might not work. So do that, number one. And then, number two, really nonstop keep sharing your content on all these different channels. And every once
Yes.
in a while, somebody will say, oh my God, you're so annoying. Guess what? That's a sign. That is a sign that it's working, right? Because not
Yes.
everybody is your target audience. So what's funny, I actually, last year I started publishing a thing. I always publish I do a lot of keynotes and stuff. So I publish the positive things people say about me. Of course, everybody does that. But then I now started a page, and I even have this on my speaking page, and I say, and here's a link to all the negative things people have said about me. And I literally publish everything. Like
Yeah.
I published all the good stuff. Now I publish all the bad stuff. So, so think about those things.
Yeah. That's a great point. But I agree with you. You got to be visible. If you're not, people are going to forget about you. So I think consistency is super important. You have been so insightful today, Christoph. Thank you for spending time with us. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Of course, my blog, AuthenticStorytelling.net, that works. On Twitter, @Trappe. Please do not leave me a voicemail, but either of those other two things work just fine.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been so great. What a great way to end this year by having you on the Social ROI Chat with us. And for all of you guys here with us, thank you for being a part of this amazing community. We'll be back next week in January. Hard to believe January's next week. We'll be back for another great chat. And so until then, I'll see you all out on Twitter as always. So take care. Bye for now.
Bye.